We are excited about the elaboration room.
I am excited about this.
Welcome to the Elaboration Room with Reverend Yo and Reverend Harris.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again in the Elaboration Room with two sisters of one. We thank you for joining us every week as we continue to give you something else to consider. We love that title.
I need it. That's the greatest thought. Something else to consider.
Yes, because
where would we be?
Yeah, it's really a time at this point in our country we really hope we're giving you something else to consider. So tonight we're going to be talking about the title, Hope Has Not Left the Room. So we want to remind you as we're going through this episode, we want you to listen and we want you to be reminded that even in the darkest situations, God's hope remains present and powerful, no matter what. I want you to imagine if you ever walked into a dark room and felt like, the air had been sucked out of it, a room where it's sorrow and fear or despair or is hung heavy. Maybe you've even sat in a hospital room or a courtroom or even in your home and thought there is no way out. Hope is gone. That is not true. So we're going to be talking you tonight, just reminding you that in spite of all, hope has not left the room. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but hope, true hope, does not depend on what the room looks like. It depends on who is in the room. So our sissy is kicking this one off tonight. I just wanted to put my little spill in there because I had to open up, but sis is in your court.
Girl, you already did it. You already said all the things, all the things, all the things. But I think when this topic came up, it just spoke to my spirit. Hope has not left the room. Oh my goodness. So much has been happening to people. So much.
I think this title came about because weren't we talking after a show? And it just came out in a conversation.
And I said, that's a good one. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
When we think about, I want to start off with the reasons that we would feel hope has left the room. I know Reverend Yo gave some lists of the reasons that came to her mind that we would feel a bit of hopelessness, that we would feel that hope is no longer available. And it could be political. It could be the mere uncertainty of our day to day. Raise your hand if you're feeling a bit stressed because you don't know what's going to happen next. Things continue to change. But I want to also say that as great as our advances are in the world, we have disconnected. And I think we've said this in other shows about the disconnect that is apparent in our society, the splits, that's the separations that are going on. And quiet as it's kept, that separation brings upon us despair and a feeling of being alienated from each other. When you think back to our parents and grandparents, neighbors knew each other and would visit and talk to each other, and they would gather for meals and to share, stories. They would gather in person and be connected.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have that now, like they did back when. Now there is more the uncertainty of who your neighbor is. We're putting up our guard. Trust issues, talking to people, being in crowds, issues with thinking you're going to come down with something, sickness, all of these things are weighing heavy if we want to be truthful about it. And that would give you a feeling of hopelessness if you looked at it from there.
Mm.
But God.
But God.
But God. This episode telling us, reminding us that hope has not left the room, calls for us to not focus on those things that would move us into a sense of disconnect, but focus on the small victories in our life. Change our perspective of how we are looking and how we are connecting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
We have to each, in our own space, nurture and grow the hope that's within us, because hope is rooted in faith. And our faith, as we have been told, doesn't have to be great big faith.
Mm-hmm.
That mustard seed faith.
Mm-hmm.
And if we nurture and cultivate that in each of our own lives, and we shift how we are looking at each other and realize that all of us are in the same boat, and come at each other from that perspective, then we realize that hope is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Hope is still there. Hope is looking at life from a lens of being positive. That everything is not all dire, and, everything is not falling apart because we woke up. And because we woke up, we have the hope of this day being great. And we have to celebrate the small victories that happen in that day, not what you didn't get done, but celebrate what you did get done. What was on your list that you were able to take care of? Who did you see? Who did you connect with? Did you smile at someone and they smiled back at you? Did you put yourself out there that day and say, hey, how you doing? And somebody responded. Did you listen to someone when they said, oh, this isn't going well, and you gave a listening ear, and they were so happy because you blessed their spirit because you saw them? All of those things let us know that hope is still alive, that hope has not left. The world, some folks in the world would want you to believe that you have lost all control and that you're not going to make it, and that you are just on the fast track to doom and gloom. But we have to not let that be our reality, not let that be our mindset. All right, sis, I'm going to take a break and take a breath while you get on in there.
I think we have to be reminded that hope, a lot of people confuse hope with positive thinking or emotional optimism, but we have to remember that biblical hope is rooted in Jesus Christ. You know, where Christ dwells, hope dwells. And I think we get so caught up in society and putting our hope in society. And I think that's where a lot of disappointment comes from. Because when you think about it, Jesus doesn't leave the room because things get uncomfortable. He stayed with the woman caught in adultery. He walked through Samaria to meet the woman at the well. He stood with Mary and Martha at the tomb of Lazarus. So it's like even when we're facing the challenges that we're facing in our nation right now, the failure, the betrayal, the lies, the manipulation, all of it, we just have to be remembered that Jesus doesn't walk out on us. You know, we can't get caught up in what is happening. We have to put our hope in who we believe in. And, you know, one thing, I think it's a song where it says, my hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust this sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ, the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. I think if we get to that part of remembering that our hope is in the Lord and our hope is not in these politicians, it's not, you know, and just all the chaos that's going on, I think we'll find ourselves in a better place of trusting, truly trusting in the Christ that we say we serve, and truly trusting in this too shall pass, and truly trusting in no weapon formed against us shall prosper, truly trusted in that, because the hope we have is hope in knowing that he is going to always protect us. He's going to always be with us. And we just have to remember that. But we also have to remember that hope doesn't avoid broken places, it's drawn to them. So if you're feeling broken and you're living in that place, you know,
The Elaboration Room with two sisters of one. Make sure you like and subscribe and stay tuned for the next episode every Monday at 6 p.m.